Happy Thanksgiving. 4 minutes into Turkey Day, Turducken Day, veggie turkey, spam, top ramen, whatever the hell it is that you're eating today. Happy Thanksgiving and enjoy a full day of eating it and watching football and gearing up for the atrocities that will be Black Friday tomorrow for some of you massive retail stores. Um, Obviously, I will be doing the mom and pop thing over the weekend. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. So for those of you who are still up, for those of you who catch this at the replay, there you go. All right, let's get started like immediately and bring in Brad. I love my backdrop here. The turkey will be going in the microwave around 1-2 o'clock. Hit the potato button. 6 minutes. We'll have a full blown turkey. I don't know if I'm supposed to take these little baggy things that are on the inside out or whether I just microwave it. I guess if you microwave it out, it should be fine. I don't have any stuffing, but I do have ramen.
Are you having the family over, or how's that going?
Well, I threatened them with the microwave turkey, and I haven't heard back. So I don't know, man. It can go either way. I plan on spending some time at the center and then heading out to the family later on in the afternoon. I got to get stuff ready. We've been spending all week on my just getting everything ready for not just Black Friday, but this season in general. For me, it's just like there's Free Comic Day and Black Friday. It's not just a day to make a whole, to make a bunch of sales. It's a day to get people in that haven't yet stepped into your store and hopefully keep them throughout the year. So anybody we pick up through Christmas, obviously, we want to keep them throughout the year to 2024, 2025, beyond. Same thing with Free Comic Day. Obviously, we don't make money off the Free Comic Book Days, but you get people to step into your store, especially for a store like me who's not necessarily geared towards locals, to get that one opportunity or opportunity to meet brand new people who for the most part will shop really close to where they live, and I'm nowhere near where they live. So these are opportunities to meet new geeks and educate some new geeks. And let's hit the chat real quick before we open up the open mic, because really nothing exciting happened today. Woohoo! Great. Happy Thanksgiving, RJ. Spider-Man, I know you're gone already, so happy Thanksgiving to you, and happy Thanksgiving to you on the replay, William. I'm with the family on a different time zone, so just stopping by to say thank you. Thanks for all the work you've been putting into the channel. Happy Thanksgiving. I'll check the replay. All right, thank you, guys.
Thanks, Spider-Man.
Everybody, obviously, if you guys want to donate to the Top Ramen / Microwave Turkey Recovery Fund, there you go. Streamlabs.com / the Sci-Fi Center. Just leave a tip there, or you can join the Patreon. So a little bit of scheduling news. So it is confirmed that I'm going to pretty much be spending all day Saturday just doing one-on-ones with in-store people. So I will. I haven't decided whether I wanted to do the overnighter on later on Saturday, or if I just want to do a straight up like 10 o'clock show on an overnight on Sunday. I haven't made that decision yet. All the we will do. I'm thinking about possibly doing a Patreon stream tomorrow for Godzilla because it hits tomorrow at 9 p.m. So I may do that. I think I will do that, and then we'll probably do just a regular standard Patreon stream this Sunday to cover some stuff. But yeah, we got a lot of announcements and a lot of stuff that we're going to start putting out. Obviously, like I promised before, this weekend we'll be putting out the specifics for the Rebel Moon charity event that takes place Friday, December 22nd. I got some other stuff that needs to happen. That's going to happen, and like I said, we'll just be we'll be pushing out a lot of news on all the different platforms, email, chat group, everything. So.
Right. And by the way, last night I was pulling everyone's leg, but I can confirm now this night it's totally true that this time it's true. We do have Zack Snyder, Ray Porter, and Rebel Moon locked in. It's for sure. It's happening. Set in stone. Everything's. I'm not pulling anyone's leg this time. It is absolutely for certain will be happening.
Yeah, he's very much pulling your leg. Like I said. We're going to send links out to everybody and every connection, and whoever clicks on the link, it will be there.
By the way, that
What?
that doesn't just include also. Sorry, I want to interject. It's not just not just send that out strictly to people involved with Rebel Moon, but also other YouTubers as well. We
Yeah,
trying
yeah,
to
we're gonna.
bring that into that because definitely want this event. I mean, all of us as fans of Zach's body of work and this incredible journey we've all gone on through these past few years. I mean, this is, and with this having been in his head for the last several decades, and definitely want to pull out the stops on this.
Yeah, and plus most of those guys, in fact, let's face it, all of those guys have a stronger bandwidth than me, and they will be able to get the word out about all of this a lot easier and a lot more effective than me. So I will be using them as proxies to get as many people to donate and contribute, and we'll go from there. But yeah, we'll start posting those links and stuff this weekend. I'll have the event set up, so we'll give people plenty of time to make their schedules. I know it's a few days before Christmas, but a lot of people will already be off for Christmas break anyway. So, and it's a Friday. It'll be a Friday evening, so we're gonna we'll take it from there. So, all right. So, how you doing, Music Man? What's going on? What's going on, Chappie?
So I have Aaron here. And Aaron here. Hello, William Bradnell and Chappie. Thanksgiving. Thank you, Aaron.
We're not defending bad movies this tonight or this morning, Chappie. No heads up or what? Oh, you didn't get I don't know if you're talking about if StreamYard is letting you know that I'm live. I haven't been notified that I'm live yet, and it's my stream, so I fade it. Is that it right there? No. Yeah, I just now got the heads up that we're live. See, there we go. I just got the heads up, which is quite pathetic because I've been live for 11 minutes now, but I can't really control that. So I think a lot of it has to do with the maybe the lateness that we stream, but I'm having turducken. There's a lot of people having that. Rest in peace, John Madden. Happy Thanksgiving. I'm thankful for ducks and the edible.
That explains why you're thankful for the duck.
Nah, he's strange anyway, with or without edibles, I guess. But let's see. No news. Sometime. Yeah, you know what? I'll take it.
Yeah, sometimes it's like it's gives you a breathing room to kind of process the current news or the expected news or things you're looking forward to or just shooting the shit with people. Yeah.
Oh wow, you must have. How many edibles did you take for these bastards? They should bring back the OG Cast or Scream. All those people pretty much have already told them to go fuck off. So
yeah. This is actually turning into a really crazy, and it's actually overshadowing. I would say a lot of Gunn's recent announcements as far as what I've seen on social media. Like this has kind of become the biggest entertainment news story presently, and
Gunn's announcements right now, because of how they've been done, really aren't going to really affect most people outside of the zeitgeist that are in this stuff yet. Scream, even though it's only like a $200 million movie, it's a general audience thing. People know who obviously Wednesday is. They know who the girl is. I mean, she's the star of the last one, and then and it's attached to a much bigger issue too. And I don't believe for a second that Jenna Ortega is leaving because of schedule conflicts. I truly
hell no.
To our apartment. I very much expect that the director will probably step down pretty soon, and that this movie just won't happen, or they're going to end up having to pay Neve Campbell way more than she even asked for the first time, and I just don't think it's going to happen. So it's probably best for what this movie would have drawn. They're not going to pay. The reason they're not going to pay Neve Campbell because those movies don't draw enough for what you wanted, and they just couldn't come together, which is understandable. Hey, sometimes you can make a deal, sometimes you can't. But yeah, this is like I said, Jenna Ortega has had these schedules in place long for a while now, and all of a sudden, and like I said, she did it politely, she did it professionally, she didn't roast Spyglass, but she basically told them, hey, thanks for no thanks, but. There you go. So, yeah, that was big news. But yeah, Zack Snyder stuff. Mainly because, like I said, this right now it's just in the geekosphere, and it's with people that no one knows who they are. So it'll build, but that Scream and that franchise had 25 years of and like I said, plus it's attached to a very global storyline, a very divisive global storyline right now. So. Dopey microwave, no microwave turkey speeds. Listen, come on. I mean, what? It's a little rubbery. Yeah, okay, try it. But you know what? Listen, if you can put hot dogs and bologna in the oven, if you can put eggs, hey, you know, I've always said, and this is going to be another one of our Teespring shirts when I start making them. If it's not microwavable, it's not edible. All can be heated from the inside. Just remember that. And like I said, you know what? You know, you learn. 1 year you damage the microwave, and you know it bends to the will of the turkey. You know, you have a bulge, but you know the next year you get a bigger microwave. Slide that baby right in. Hit the potato button. 6 hours, 6 minutes. I don't know what color it's supposed to be. Golden what? I don't know, but hey.
Yeah, it says Jenna Ortega is fleeing a sinking ship. I mean, at the rate they're dropping from it,
yeah. She either doesn't want to be involved in it because of obviously losing a major star. She may feel the same way as the star, you know, because the girl who was fired was the star. I mean, it was pretty much her movie. So, you know, a lot of people about all this. So.
Well, Jenna, she also, because she's got Wednesday, she can also afford to walk away, you know, much more so than she would have without it. But yeah, that's scheduling conflict. That's some bullshit. I mean, that's just a PR spin there.
That's them. That's her not burning any bridges in case she ever wants to work with you guys again. But you know, there you go. All right, calling me strange is the pot calling pedal back. You're the king of strange. Huh. Hey, you're the king of corny though, man. All right, I feel the same, William. Yeah, hey, rubber turkey. Come on. Nah, I know you're talking about something else. So Jenna Ortega is fleeing. Yeah, you already got that one. Let's see. Guns cast vehicle very safe and uninspiring. I heard people hoping Denzel Washington for Lex Luthor, and that while not a fit will be curious must see. Well, like I said, he's casting a lot of people, but for the most part, if you're the general fan, you probably, unless you watch some of the stuff that these guys have been in, I don't know anyone outside of YouTube has watched anything Rachel Brosnahan has been in. I mean, you have you bad? I don't know. No. Not that she's an Emmy Award winning or nominated actress, so I'm not knocking her credibilities, but no one knows who these people are. And so it's not like you were like Denzel Washington would be like, wow, you know, automatically you're going to have the people who follow him anywhere going to see your movie. But, you know, it's just not big news right now. Not only is it not big news, okay, so as soon as you, like, and I talked to somebody about this today, you know, because it was up on one of my screens, and people were like, what's that about? You know, this is a new so-and-so for, you know, cast character Superman. That's the first that they were hearing about it. It was on my little screen that was in the background of me. And you know, when's that coming out? And I'm like, well, July 2025. Oh shit, that long? That's literally the next response. You know, A, they don't know who these people are. And B, it's, you know, if it's not like January or, you know, the first 3 months of 2024, and it's just
I'm gonna be honest here. It's like I just keep ruminating over how we got here, and just so much of how we got here just continues to just not sit well with me at all. I mean,
well, it's not gonna sit well with me, but here's the thing, though.
Both the Cavill situation specifically, but also the general how we got here too.
Yeah, it sucks, but they're not. They could still be successful, you know, beyond that, you know, beyond those mistakes. It's just like right now, I mean, you can't, like I said, there's no news for me. And I listen, and stop it with the corn sweat pictures in some of the shittiest Superman uniforms. Let's please just wait till the costume design comes out. I've seen some absolutely horrific gifs and pictures with his head on like a 1979 or 78 Superman costume, or, you know, his head on a Brown and Rock. I mean, like, I'm like, stop it. For all we know, there could be a completely, I mean, you're going to have the traditional things that are a Superman costume, but there could be so many significant differences that it looks nothing like these cheesy ones I'm seeing. And the Lex Luthor with the green armor uniform, I'm like, this is what we're gonna do. I got 2 years of this. I got 2 years of this, and then when he comes out with something that looks nothing like that, people are going to be like, "What are you doing? Oh my god!" I'm like, "You guys built up these weird looking ones in your head, and if he doesn't use those, they're gonna we'll be chasing our tails again." Tabasco would help microwave turkey. Yeah, I'll try it out, man. Well, what I was gonna do is I'm just taking all those seasonings from all the top ramen that I'm gonna stuff it with and just like bake it in that. At least go convection. I don't have a convection oven. I got a microwave. You know. Boy, pal, who's your favorite horror movie female villain minus Sadako and the ring? Oh, favorite horror? I don't have. There's just not that many. I don't know. I don't. There's just not that many. I know there's. I mean, you could ask my favorite final girl. I mean, but I don't know as far as. That's a tough one. Horror movie female villain. That's really. I got to think about that one, Hunter. I don't have one. I don't have one.
A lot more specific, yeah.
I mean, okay, you know what? I'm going to think about the only one I know that I can think of off the top of my head is Mama Voorhees, Jason's mother from Friday the 13th.
Well, I was also going to suggest like Mama Loomis from Scream 2.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the OG female horror movie. William, are MREs edible? Okay, this all depends on what you consider edible and what your intestinal digestive system can handle. Some of them are very good, but they're literally rich, and they're, like I said, they don't go down easy, man. It's dehydrated food. Some of them are edible. Some of them are really good. The older ones are nasty as fuck, man. The older ones, they didn't even look like.
And they pack a lot in that little package. I mean, they pack. I remember like one time seeing this like at the end of 60 Minutes, when we were in Iraq, when the Iraq war was going on, whoever was host of that end segment, he said, "Hey, I'm checking on how the soldiers are eating." And he opened up an MRE, and it had one of those little pouches that you squeeze the spaghetti out of, and it had some crackers and some cheese spread, and it had like a little pouch that you would put like coffee into and things like that. So they get they stuff a lot in there.
And those crackers, I would win money because we would be out and we would be bored, and we would bet guys, okay, you got to eat this cracker. And these crackers are like hard. They're not hard, but they're dense as fuck, and they're like this big. And we're like, okay, with $20 for any of you dumb privates that can eat this without water. You got to eat it without water, and if you have to drink the water, you lose a bet. It turned into basically cement. They couldn't even move their jaws after a certain amount of time. They had to get the water to soften it up, and they choked. But yeah, man, those MREs. We got, like I said, there's so many MREs. I have more MRE stories than I have war stories. Okay, so on this, when it comes to them firing her, there's two frame of thoughts here. One of them is that she was expressing opinion, and a widely shared opinion. About half of the world subscribe to her opinion. On the other hand, she works for a company, and even though she has a First Amendment right, that company has a First Amendment right to portray themselves as they see fit. So you have the employee interfering with the First Amendment rights of the employer. They have a right of expression just like she does, but she's representing them. She works for them, and when you work for a company, you represent a company. So I can see it from both sides. I don't like the terminology necessarily that they used in their description. They have every right to terminate an employee. They have, that's any job. They can, you have to work it out contractually, and I'm pretty sure all that's going to be worked out. But I wasn't necessarily on board. I mean, they could have handled it better, but they absolutely have an employee has a right. You can, especially when you're talking about something that's in the public domain that's going to be sold to the public. That's not me saying I agree with what I decide. I'm not going to put that out there right now, but there are two sides to it, and one of them is representative and one of them is expression. So there you go. Kathy Bates. Well, is Mystery? Yeah, I guess you could consider his Mystery a horror movie. Yeah. I mean, she beats the hell out of him.
Yeah, I can see that.
You unwrap it, you cut that little netting stuff off of it. I guess you could pull that stuff out of the bag in the middle. I'm just gonna throw it in there.
Speaking of microwave turkey, I mean, and this is actually kind of topical because Good Burger 2, if everybody's not aware, is on Paramount Plus now. For any Kenan and Kel fans out there, which I definitely, those guys kind of defined Nickelodeon for me when I was a kid. And I remember there was this one, they did the Thanksgiving episode of Kenan and Kel where Kel like eats the whole turkey before dinner starts, so they have to get a new one, and they're trying to cook it, and they say, wait, it's going to take even in the microwave on its own, it would take 2 hours. So Kenan stuffs the turkey in the microwave, then stuffs the microwave inside of the oven. Says, oh, that ought to speed things up, and then 5 seconds later, kaboom!
Yeah, no popcorn button fourth. It's just one tap of the potato button. We're all set. To me, Lex Luthor shouldn't be older than Superman. This gives Smallville vibes. Like I said, it all depends on how old they make him look. But if I start feeling Smallville vibes, I'm definitely gonna be. I cannot stand that show. How are you doing? Fun.
How's it going? Fun.
Would you say the Scream actress situation is the same as Gina Carano's situation? No.
Where do you capitalize situation there, Fourth?
No. And the difference between Gina Carano's situation is that she was warned several times. She was pulled into the office several times and told, hey, we respect your opinion, but we need you to stop. We need you. You represent us. Right now, you represent the brand that we've hired you. We need you to stop. And it was 2 or 3 times that they told her, and she just basically dismissed them and disregarded their request when they were, nicely. And at some point, regardless to what you think of her opinion, it's insubordination, and you can't have that kind of wild card out there, because if she's not going to listen to you, and she's not going to have any regard for your wishes of how you want to represent your company after multiple interactions, it's not going to get any better. And at that point, you are just basically, you have a powder keg ready to explode. And then if it does and makes you look completely stupid, you're going to look back on the times where you told her multiple times to stop and she didn't. So I don't know of any situation to where this girl from Scream was pulled in and expressed that way. I don't know. And that's why I'm really careful about what I say about it, because I wasn't in the office. I wasn't on the phone call. But when it came to Gina Carano, they actually, they let her know. She admitted that, they had conversations, and she just wasn't going to change. And like I said, there's a difference between respecting someone's opinion and carrying on about representing your product that you are selling. So there's different priorities there. No, there was nothing for her to get fired. All she was doing is trying to see it from both sides. I agree with Matt. It feels like McCarthyism. I don't like things being compared to Joe McCarthy, because what Joe McCarthy did was on a much broader scale. He wasn't just attacking people for opinions they had. Joe McCarthy was attacking people based on a lot of different factors: how they lived, who they associated with, not even necessarily what they said. And he would associate anything, any idea that to communism. He basically exploited a Red Scare is what he did. That's what that was all about, was the Red Scare. And you can blame the Senate in the 50s and the Congress in the 50s for letting him get away with it, until finally they didn't. Finally, they censored him and they ended his career, and he died young. But in order to say that there's nothing for someone to get her fired, you have to see that from the point of view of the employee. And once again, Music Man, I'm not saying I agree with her being fired, or I agree with the terminology that he was fired under, or one way or another. But if you are representing Spyglass, if you are representing a project, they don't need to have a great reason for the public. They just have to, come to the conclusion that what someone is saying does not represent what they are doing, and that's it. That's it. It doesn't have to be popular. It doesn't have to be, give you a warm feeling. It just comes down to, is what this person say represent our perception of our company or our project, and that's it. And it would be up to them to determine if there's something to fire her for, because it's their company, their project. Once again, Not saying I agree with any of that, but it all comes down to those basic facts. But yeah, the McCarthyism thing, McCarthy was dangerous. McCarthy ruined a lot of people's lives. He ruined a lot of people's careers, and he was very, very reckless. This is a company making an individual decision based on their product, their company, and then what McCarthy did was he hunted people down. He publicly hunted people down, and he used baseless claims, and he took advantage of the Cold War, the beginnings of the Cold War, and he ruined a lot of people's on public people, private people, actors, other congressmen, and finally, like I said, if you do some history on that one, they finally realized how obscene he was, and they took care of McCarthy. And like I said, once he was censured, he was done. Once the Senate pretty much censored him, which is basically, a red flag basically on him, and he was disgraced. So no, you guys be careful when you're bringing up McCarthyism. I know it's thrown around, but there's McCarthyism, and it was really bad, and especially the time and place in which it took place to, and it had an element of racism too, because you had a lot of people, Eastern European immigrants and people that had settled in the United States, and he used the Red Scare to objectify those people. So like I said, I studied McCarthy when I was in school, and McCarthyism and everything else, and it's brought up a lot. But like I said, it's a big difference in representing your product from your point of view and trying to blaspheme entire groups of people like he was. Kel dropped the screw in one tuna classic.
I dropped the screw in the tuna.
But other people have been fired from jobs discussing the same comic on as a Scream actress who recently just made a statement that she would not be silenced. So to me, once again, it's not the same. Gina Carano was called in and asked not to do what she was doing, and she decided that she wasn't going to do it on several different occasions. I can't necessarily. The only thing I can compare is that they both are fired for misrepresenting their company. So if you want to say that's the same thing, yeah. And I think Gina Carano, I don't, some of the stuff she says, I'm like, that came out of a human's mouth. But once again, it's not up to me as a consumer. I can just not go watch her stuff if I don't want to. But if I'm Disney or if I'm Spyglass, and if I come to the conclusion that what a person that I employ says does not represent the values of my company, whether I agree with it or not, that person has the right, that group has the right to fire that group. And to be honest with you, those people, they have the right of expression, but there's always also consequences. And if she didn't want to work for a company that she felt that her silence was a prerequisite, or either her or Carano, they did what they needed to do. All sides did what they needed to do in this situation. It's an unfortunate one because this is a global conversation being had, and I don't think we get any better by doing it this way. But that's just me. It's not my company. Gina was told to stop that trip. Yeah, she was told to stop at least 3 times. So Carano was pulled for sensitivity training for LGBT, but she claims nobody came out of her defense when the internet was hounding her about pronouns in her bio. Yeah, but there was, and like I said, when they fired her, they put it all out there, and she never, really, she sort of denied it. But you noticed that it just kind of disappeared. Nobody sued anybody over it because they had cause. But Jordan was asked why he doesn't advertise his political beliefs. He said Republicans buy shoes too, and that's Jordan's that's Jordan's prerogative. Other people have successfully done it the other way. Muhammad Ali successfully did it the other way.
Well,
LeBron
Jordan,
James,
I think he pivoted away from that more recently because I think he started getting a little bit more directly involved in things like the Black Lives Matter movement. So not to say that's bad choice that he made at all, but perspectives can evolve too, as I would say.
He's in his now, and he looks at things like that at that time. But like I said, if Jordan wanted to keep that stance, that's his right. That's his right, not to intertwine those things. But there's no wrong answer there because there are plenty of contemporary athletes who do, and they do it very effectively. Private companies are allowed to fire people who don't support your. That's it. That's it. You know, that's the long and short of it. Coming at it.
It's one of the things where it's like, I mean, this might sound bad, but it's one of the reasons why I would probably, if I were a manager or agent, I probably would tell a lot of celebrities, it's probably best not to wade into those waters, with whatever you're like. How am I trying to put this? In a country as polarized as this one, it's like, I mean, whatever, when you're an A-list celebrity or you've got some kind of public profile, you're going to, when you take a hard stance on anything, you're going to ruffle feathers no matter what you do. So in some ways, it's something my dad always likes to say, that discretion is the better part of valor. So, there is a wisdom in picking your battles, and as bad as it might sound to say, it's like, I mean, sometimes you don't need to give your opinion on everything.
But here's the thing: there are, it's 50-50, because, like I said, LeBron James can come out and say it, and Tom Cruise can come out and say, and what are you going to fuck with Tom Cruise? So a lot of it depends on where you are at too. What kind of leverage you have. If you're at that position and you have a powerful position, if you're a name brand on the table and not like this girl was, then a lot of times nobody's going to touch LeBron James when they come in. His stuff's going to sell. Nobody can touch him. If Jordan decided to come out and speak his mind, nobody's touching Jordan. Nobody's going to damage his legacy. The more prominent you are, the more easier time you're going to have. It's like the people who barely knew who this girl was, and now she's probably more known to the general public now because of this, than anything else. So a lot of it all depends on who you are and the stature, and whether corporate America really wants to fuck with you. And in some cases, nobody's fucking with Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise went down to that agent's office and said, "You're not going to fire her," and then she didn't get fired. That's it. That's it. He had the power in that office. So, but like I said, Johnny or Jenny No Name, they're going to have problems. So, people did end their lives over. Yeah, it was that, because they were disgraced in the public until people figured out what Joe McCarthy was doing, and how outlandish his lies were, and how irresponsible his investigations were. He used the Senate chambers to push this craziness across bodies. And like I said, other people at that time, at the beginning of his little reign, picked up the ball. He started rolling and really did a lot of damage. So yeah, that's McCarthyism is a strong one. So there's such thing as wrongful termination. Yeah, but this is not wrongful termination. A company, you're going to lose every single court battle you ever take if you were to take this up for wrongful termination. Wrongful termination, especially most actors and actresses and anybody in the public persona, they sign a lot of that off. They sign the fact that you will represent, as a condition of the contract, you will represent the values of our company and so and so, and it's in the fine print, and they know that. They know, most of these guys know that they don't have a case in court over that. So no, wrongful termination. If I terminate you for violating, if I violate my obligations in the contract, or if I fire you for something that's out, that you didn't violate. But if this is part of the terms, this is pretty much part of the terms of any public facing a contract. That there will be cause. It's called firing somebody with cause, and no, that's not wrongful termination. There's a lot of instances that is wrongful termination. Now, there's whether you agree why she's terminated. That's a totally different world. But the legal definition of wrongful termination, this probably most likely will not apply to it, and that's why you probably won't see a lawsuit or anything up front that comes from it. Just read somewhere that it will take up to 8 weeks to take down the F1 structure. Yeah, minimum. Yeah, because if you came down here and saw it, it's a massive structure. Those bleachers were, when I looked at those bleachers the first time, I'm like, this is temporary. This looked like top-notch stuff that I would go to a stadium and see. So yeah, 8 weeks. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, it's basically what I'm saying. Fire for misrepresenting the company and being the similar. Yeah, and like I said, that's cause. That's what you call cause. When you fire somebody for cause, that means they have violated. They have given you cause, and they have violated the terms of the representative terms of the contract, which is happens all the time. It's just not always public facing, but Word on the street is WB is looking for Patrick Sturgeon as Howard Durgan. Okay. I know who he is, but I don't think I've ever seen.
Well, you know who he is because his last name makes it easy to figure that out.
Well, I know who he is. He's Maria Shriver's Schwarzenegger and Arnold Schwarzenegger's son, but I'd never seen a movie with him in it. Unless I have, I just didn't know it. When Jordan made the statement, it was safer to be conservative Hollywood compared to now. Yeah, and like I said, times have changed, and you're talking about the '80s versus now. So,
actually, I'm kind of since we're talking True Bad being famous, it's not required you have a platform, but Corona screamers, fire them, martyrdom will be forgotten. I mean, yeah. So, yeah. And I mean, the Corona one, it's like I'm still not even fully clear on exactly what she did to ruffle everyone's feathers, but I mean, but she did get warnings multiple times to knock it off. So, but kind of going off since we're talking, I guess this is the topic of the evening about people getting terminated or blacklisted or having their careers.
Well, it's open mic. I'm just going down.
I kind of thought because this is a good one. Because people, every time something like this happens, people throw out like counter examples, like, well, why didn't it happen to this person, or why were they able to make a comeback? And I think one of the big ones that gets kind of bandied about was is Mel Gibson, because I mean we remember he had a kind of a string of controversies, and he's made a comeback, and I mean just in general, it's like
it's all subjective to the companies that hire him again. For the most part, Mel Gibson runs his own show. He does have his own production.
Yeah.
So it's a comeback. He just can basically come back whenever he wants to. But each company, each group that either hires, employs, or surrounds themselves with these people has a right to represent themselves one way or another. They have a right to be okay with it, and they have a right not to be. It's not a monolithic thing. That not all companies are not going to respond the same way Spyglass does. All companies have a right to respond in their way, depending on what the values are of their particular company. If you're working for a company that is very liberal and is very outspoken, and that's the kind of thing that they progress, then you're fine. You're representing the values of the companies. If you're representing a company that is not against what you're saying, but does not want to go in that arena, and you've now dragged them into that arena, then that company has the same right as the other ones I've just described to.
But it's kind of like part of a larger sort of thing I pondered a few times. We talk about like famous people get in these kinds of controversies where they make some kind of statement that's either it involves like racial epithets or brushes with the law or violent behavior or things like that. And it's something I've thought about. It's like what's kind of the threshold that people have for making comebacks? Like what is like something people, I mean, the only thing I think I've never heard anybody like making a comeback for as far as famous people committing some transgression, making a comeback from. I think the only thing I think would probably be a bridge too far for most people would probably be like child, sexual
something
abuse.
with a child or outright murder. Because I can't even say abuse, because Chris Brown beat the hell out of Rihanna and still made albums afterwards. R. Kelly was borderline, but if R. Kelly hadn't been put to prison, people would still be buying R. Kelly albums. So a lot of that is going to depend on that person's following.
Yeah, what else? Like it floated around Michael Jackson for up until he died. I mean, people were it was never convicted of anything, but people were 50-50 about whether or not they thought there was veracity to it.
Well, but here's the thing, though: his following didn't care. See, the key here is your following. If you have a following that is Michael Jackson on the day he died could have sold out any arena in America.
Oh, and he did, and he posthumously could certainly.
He can still making money. Michael Jackson's making more money dead than most millionaires will ever make in their long millionaire lives. So a lot of it is their following, and that's your following is going to be your armor against these things. If you have a huge following, a lot of times you're cancel proof, because the people who could cancel you are not going to want to cancel that money. So you have Michael Jackson. Regardless of what you thought about his situation, had the leverage. He could do, I'm not saying whatever he did was wrong, but his comeback was based on his following. Same thing with any of these other guys. Mel Gibson, do they have a following? Because their following doesn't have to give a shit about any of this other stuff. Their following can be like, you know what? I like his acting. I like his music. I'm
well, it's still kind of. I mean, it's still you see that still sort of follow him around to varying degrees today. I mean, it's like he's just in the Continental, the John Wick spinoff show, and I've seen editorials criticizing his casting. I mean, obviously that didn't stop it from happening, and the show I really enjoy. Really enjoying this expansion of the John Wick universe, but it is a question that's kind of been on my mind at times. Another one I would kind of throw out there also is Mike Tyson. He's made a comeback. He's in like the Hangover movies. He's doing color commentary over sports. I mean, he's a convicted rapist. So yeah, and that's one I've thought of like kind of stacking up next to Bill Cosby. Like why? So how was Tyson able to make a comeback and Cosby not? And I'm not that I'm saying I want Cosby to make a comeback, to be clear. But
huge difference. It was conceived that Bill Cosby was guilty, and a lot of people at the time when Mike Tyson was convicted, the large majority, especially Black people, if you look at the way that if you study what went on in that trial, a lot of people considered, and I'm not going to give an opinion out of the way, that Mike Tyson was railroaded. That there was a lot of things that went on in Indianapolis, and a lot of things that if it had happened anywhere else, if it hadn't happened to someone else, that there's a good chance he might not have been convicted. But like I said, it once again, you're following Mike Tyson's following is what allowed Mike Tyson to come back. Bill Cosby, once again, you're talking about a guy who's beyond the generation of people that can even defend him. He's beyond the median generation. When he had defended him was a bunch of old people in their 70s.
Well, and also like one thing I've had, people have, when I pose that question, because I have, had talked with friends about this, like on that topic. One thing they've suggested also is, Tyson was convicted for a rape. Cosby has, if the accusers are to be believed, and at this point, I believe they should be. He has, in excess of 60 women he's, has potentially raped, if not more.
Remember why he got acquitted. Remember why he's not in prison, though, because this is why we have courts of law. And he's, I'm not going to even chime in on Cosby's nonsense, but there's why we have a system that is not public opinion. And Bill Cosby is one of the primary reasons of what can happen when we don't follow the system that's in place to handle these situations. Once we start letting public opinion handle it, and we don't have evidence, we're not the ones sitting in the courtroom, we're not the ones looking at exhibit A, exhibit B. All we are is people with our faces pressed up on the screen. That can become very dangerous. There's a reason why we have courts of law. There's a reason why we have Fourth Amendment. There's a reason why we have all that stuff.
Yeah, that is something I think tends to get lost in a lot of this kind of, I mean, not that the screen situation kind of rises to a criminal.
Yeah, we're talking about just
but that is something I think when people kind of let the the mob mentality sort of overtake them, it's easy to lose sight of that. It's like I've always been a very much the guy have stay in court mindset.
Susan Sarandon, Susan Sarandon was up our agency. I don't think she cares. Susan Sarandon does not fucking care. She has reached a point in her life where whether you disagree with her or agree with her, she's going to say what she wants to say. That woman was an Academy Award winner. If she came in today unrepresented and said, "You know what, you got a movie, I want to be a star in it," there's no one in Hollywood that's gonna turn her down. No one in Hollywood that's gonna turn her down. She doesn't even need an agent. Once again, I'm not taking a side on what she said, because that's not what I'm going to do here. But if it were me losing an agent, I'm eating my microwave turkey and my ramen tomorrow. I'm not. By the way, guys, I'm not microwaving a turkey. Don't be sending people to wellness checks on me. William, are you okay? I heard that you're going to eat, and maybe we need to take you to the hospital. No, I'm not. The family is cooking all kinds of turkey and stuff for me. I would go into the Powell household to eat. But if it were me and I lost my agency, or they dropped me, I got problems. Susan Sarandon is Susan Sarandon.
Sure.
She's been an activist.
She's also got the money. She could retire tomorrow and she'd be fine. So.
Well, yeah, and she's got a following. Hell, just Rocky Horror people come out and support her. But she's been an activist since the 70s and 80s. So she's never what she did. Once again, not condoning or discondoning. is consistent with what she's always been, she'll get another agent, But all right, guys, let's lighten up the mood, man. Guys,
the first word I heard. I'm sorry for that, Drogo. Well, I don't know if I should pull these next couple of comments here if you talk about lighten up the mood, because
I mean, it's just this is what you guys want to talk about, but I'm like, aren't we? Don't we want to be happy? I mean, I don't know.
Well, but do you want me to go ahead and highlight it? Maybe we can give our 2 cents and kind of pivot. Okay, so Droga says the Spawn movie is screwed. Aaron asks, why is that? Well, yeah, it's probably screwed because it can't get out of development hell. And Aaron says, you heard it. Yeah, Jamie, there is a report that he is apparently under investigation for sexual assault. And it really goes back to what William and I were saying just a few seconds ago, which is there's a reason why we have a court of, we don't end people's careers or end their livelihoods or on court of public opinion. That's court of law. And I take the same stance I do anytime any celebrity gets into a controversy like this. Hey, it's let him have a say in court,
And we'll go back to the Mike Tyson situation, because, and not only after that, Mike Tyson, by the general public, was treated like an animal. Now, a lot of it was his persona. A lot of it, was just the way he was at the time. But even after he got released, and he had the whole Holyfield thing, biting. If you ever watch boxing, there's a lot of biting going on. Not to that extreme, but biting is not unknown in boxing. But there was a situation, and I remember I'm a big sports radio guy, and this is back in the day when you called in to sports radio. I called into my local one because he was trying to get his license back to box because it had been suspended because of that. And Nevada had decided they didn't want to. Now, Nevada is a very popular athletic commission, but there is no federal commission. So everybody was trying to follow suit and say, well, if Nevada's not going to give it to him, then we're not going to give it to him. And I called in. Now, I remember his lawyer was actually on the station before or after me. And I say, Mike, I don't care what you feel about Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson should sue. Mike Tyson should sue every single state that denied to at least give him a hearing. Just because you don't like somebody doesn't mean they don't get due process. There are serial killers who sit up on TV and say, I did it, and they get due process. So if those guys get due process, then Mike gets due process. All these people that are accused, Jamie Foxx, every single person should get due process. And once we stop doing that, and then we let the court of public opinion, people are going to get railroaded. So let this system, it doesn't always have the perfect result, but I've been to other countries. I'd rather have the system we have here than some of these countries to where you basically do get, it's kangaroo court. So let's let these
frightening things to happen. So and now that we're on that, so maybe we should transition to OJ's perspective comeback. I'm just kidding.
OJ went to prison for 9 years and stacked up money that no one could touch. I don't have any. Yeah. OJ's out here in Vegas living better than I could dream of. OJ, when you go to the Vegas Knights game, OJ's in the suite. OJ's golfing. OJ has a pension from the NFL for the rest of his life that nobody can touch. No lawsuit can touch. That's like millions. And he was, in 9 years, he didn't spend any of that. None of that was getting spent. He was living rent-free. He was living in low security. So all that money that OJ had was just piling up. OJ's out here, looking fat and happy. I'm eating ramen. So no, OJ's banned. We're banning OJ. OJ's right.
I mean, tonight people just wanted to know about celebrities who get into hot water. I figured, what better example could there be?
But here's another thing about this. Let's be real with ourselves, though. When we're just watching these guys on the court, on the screen, getting in the end zone, we don't care about their private lives until something happens. So we really should be consistent and keep it that way. Kobe Bryant, when he went through his thing in 2004, I didn't listen. I had to be honest. I didn't care. There's a judicial system that'll handle the allegations that he was facing, and it did. But me as a fan, my connection to Kobe Bryant was, can you put that ball into that hoop and win my team titles so that I can wear these nice, cool T-shirts, And if the legal system convicts you, then you're a convict. Then I'm done. But right now, while you're going through that process that everyone else has, that is my connection with you. and people want to use these conspiracies and these scandals and act like they're, oh, I'm offended, I'm this and that. I'm like, you did not give two slight fucks about these people beyond you watching them on the screen. And that's the way it should be. Their job as an entertainer is to go up on that screen or go on that field and do their job, and your decision is whether you want to pay to see it. I don't care about your personal life. As long as you're not murdering, obviously not murdering anybody. As long as you're not hurting anybody, I don't care about your mistress. I don't care about the love child. I don't care about any of that. I don't. In the accusations, I will care about the accusations as they progress through the legal system. But other than that, my relationship with an athlete is on that screen. My relationship with anything, and I think people like, I can't believe this guy did that. You did not care about this guy's private life, good or bad, people dying in his family, him going through rehab or anything.
Nor should you care about their private life for that matter.
Exactly. So now you care because it's on TMZ. Be consistent. Care as much about these people's private lives as you did before you even knew they had a private life. That's all I'm saying. But
okay, now to. I'm going to go ahead and shift us away from the celebrities and with getting criminal records or however that came about. A question to you, William and Brad: what do you and your families eat during Thanksgiving? Is there different meals eat between Thanksgiving and Christmas? Are you talking about like big meals? Because that's those are the big ones this time of year. It's Thanksgiving, Christmas dinner. I mean, it's it's the usual. It's turkey, ham. Everything is kind of associated with the holiday season.
We get a turkey, but none of us are big fans of turkey, but it's a tradition. So, but sometimes my mom will make prime rib. She does the greens. She'll add, certain things to it. We have, the yams, sweet potatoes, things like that. The traditional stuff. Some ham, obviously ham. We don't eat, this is the only time of year where we actually consume a lot of pork. As a family, we generally stay away from pork because of high blood pressure issues and things like that. So we stay away from that. But this is we limit it. We eat it. So it's the basic stuff: a pie, apple pie. Mainly it's a gathering. Double eggs. Spinach and things like that. Mainly on these holiday things. It's like on Christmas Day is a big deal with me and my dad. We watch NBA. Christmas Day is a huge day for NBA. So me and my dad will watch the Lakers because they're usually playing. We'll watch some game on there, and it's more about the family thing than it is because we've both been in situations where my dad was in the Air Force. He spent entire holidays away, and I, being deployed, was deployed for a full year where I missed every single holiday. So these days, having us both going through that, my mom was a flight attendant for 25 years, so there was a time like an 8, 9, 10-year period where we were never all in the same place for these holidays. So now that we're done with all that stuff, we try to do it as much as possible. Even me, I'm a workaholic, and my home is a store for the most part, but I am going to force myself to pull myself away and have some family time. So it's not about the meal is just your basic stuff, and my mom's a great cook in it, but it's more about just getting together and just saying,
kind of get my plan. I can share my plans tomorrow. It's it's parents, my sister and my nephew, and we're meeting as a family friend of my mother's that we're going to be. We actually went to her place last year, and she had family friends over there. She has a really nice house, and we're going to be doing that again this year. It's actually going to be, I think, probably pretty. I think we're probably going to bring some joy into her holiday season with that, because her husband actually he was there for the Thanksgiving last year, but he not long after that he was actually diagnosed with cancer, and he unfortunately passed away in January, February. So that obviously was very devastating for us. So we're trying to yeah.
All right.
Okay. Fourth is the I'm seeing people posting that on social media right now.
Yeah, today is both the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who and the JFK assassination. Wow. Two things that happened on the same day like that. Remarkable. Like I said, this is a 10-year anniversary of my first Overnighter, not the YouTube version, where we did we did a 24-hour. But see, in 2013, another difference is like I said, that was before Thanksgiving. This one's on Thanksgiving. Like yesterday was the actual anniversary. But if you look at it, it's the That was on a Saturday too. It was a lot easier for me to do that on a Saturday overnight because a lot of people in Vegas are still statistically off that. Another thing was, if I can remember, yeah, it's Saturday, and I could just pull it off. But I was thinking of how I could try to pull it off this weekend. But lastly is the 50th anniversary actually was aired on November 22nd, and the reason why they were able to do it that way is because it was on a Saturday, and it aired globally at the same time. It being on a Wednesday this year, and then on Thanksgiving, it was just too tough to get anything together that anybody would go to. So that sucks.
I think this is something Aaron has that we both somewhat answer. What was Thanksgiving and Christmas like during your time in the military, and what meals were you served? And I'll let you go first on that because you actually were the enlisted one of the two of us.
Steak and lobster. Believe it or not, every Sunday they would give us steak and lobster. You know, it wasn't. Listen, I'm going to tell you, it wasn't like Red Lobster or anything like that. But for me, I'm 10,000 miles away from my home. I wasn't eating steak and lobster here. So when, every Sunday they would serve us steak and lobster and all this other stuff, and it was cool. On Thanksgiving and Christmas, they would do the steak and lobster. You just got it was more. It was more, and it was in the shell. It was cool because before they would give you like processed lobster that was cut up and be sold in big vats. And like I said, as somebody who was 10,000 miles away from home, the fact that the military was giving me steak and lobster, something that on a weekly basis, I wasn't doing that here. But we got steak, we got turkey. They bought in the admirals and the generals served us. So the 4 stars and the people, one camp actually got George W. Bush to come out. Donald Rumsfeld came out, and he got booed. But for our particular camp, the camp commander, the ARCENT commander of the 3rd Army commander, they were all coming out, and at different points of the day, they were wearing their aprons and their little chef hats and their uniforms, and they were serving us ham, turkey. They had a vegetarian meal because a lot of our people were vegetarian. A lot of our people, some people couldn't eat. They had kosher meals for Jewish people that were there, and we had, meals for Muslims who, we pork grease, stuff like that. And we had chaplains. The chaplain was there, and it was just a big long thing, and it was just plenty of food, and it was good, and they made sure, like I said, that deployment. That year I spent over there, like I said, they got me dragging and kicking. They kidnapped me. I'm never going to forget that. But that year was special. I still have people right now that are in my life that I brought, and those are people we spent that Thanksgiving with. We're thousands of miles away from our family, but we all were. And we were eating Thanksgiving. We were calling our family. We were doing the internet thing. We didn't have a lot of stuff that we had back then now, but we were talking, to our families and stuff like that. Obviously the time difference, we were way ahead of them. And it was just, steak and lobster. It was, but then they would add the turkey to it, and it was real good turkey. It wasn't like the MRE turkey. They went and they had turkeys flown in. They had turkeys flown in from the best places in America, and they were fucking huge, man. I mean, one of these turkeys I thought was a tank. They did just put like, it was huge, and we tore that bad boy up. But yeah, the standard stuff, but then they added our steak and lobster to it. But this steak and lobster, it was actually the actual shell one that they didn't process. So you got a plate with a lobster tail on that bad boy, and it was split. And then actual steak, because the steak that they were giving, they had thousands of people to feed. But for Thanksgiving, it was a nice thick steak. So I'll never forget that. I didn't have a cell phone camera, but yeah, I wish I would have had pictures of that.
Well, and for me, it's like, I would have been too young to remember like what we did when my dad was in the Gulf War, but his 2 deployments to Afghanistan. I mean, I think we kind of maintained fairly well what we typically do. I think we remember correctly. We went to the because I was in college at the time. My mom, my sister, and I we went to the mess hall on the base near us. I think both times for that and for Thanksgiving and Christmas because that's when he was deployed. Both those times, we went over there for dinner for those. And that interesting thing too. The first time he was in Afghanistan, that Christmas Eve was really. I had a professor that year. I was pretty close with, and he unfortunately he was experiencing kidney issues, and I get a call from one of my friends on Christmas Eve saying he had passed away that night. Apparently he might have actually passed away a few days prior, and they just found him that night. So that was a little bit unfortunate. But he was yeah, that sucked. But now a few more from Chappie here. I think still Kevin Smith despite him not being a very good person. Plus, I did like him actually as Lex Luthor in Superman Returns. I remember actually it was in my comic book store a while back, talking to a guy, and they were actually kind of discussing different portrayals of Lex Luthor, and he was comparing Spacey's to Hackman's, and Hackman had the toupee. I mean, you saw in the first 78 that he pulled the toupee off, but Spacey, he was always bald, and he actually thought that was a better choice because, and the point he made was, because if there's one thing Lex Luthor is not, it's self-conscious. So that was a good
plus that to me, I thought that everybody in that movie would have been served by a better movie that was actually something that they would come up on their own instead of trying to reach back to 1980. But that wasn't his fault. They did a good job for what they were. And like I said,
there were a lot of great elements to Returns, like the suit in Returns. The Superman suit is pretty good, I think.
And the plane scene.
There's a lot of other pretty good Superman action scenes in it. I love the scene. I love the scene. Yeah, I love the scene when they're the bank robbers are shooting that machine gun at him. He just walks up to it, and the guy tries to pull out the sidearm, shoot him, and the bullet just accordions against his eyeball.
Yeah, that was a little bit ridiculous, but it was fun.
Spacey though, it's like he also did those like for a couple of years. He did those really weird like Christmas Eve videos where he wasn't doing himself any favors when he did that, where he was in character.
In hindsight, it was anything weird he did. You look back at how
and he's taken a couple of years off from that. But it's like imagine like what's he gonna do? Is he gonna and then throw one at us this Christmas? Because it's like for like 3 years, everybody was like waiting around on Twitter. I would watch on Christmas Eve and saying, "Okay, did he put it up yet? What's it going to be this year?"
Yeah, I've always considered him creepy since 7. We're making tamales. Ooh, wow, you found an emoji for tamales? Oh, that's kind of cool, man. Question: thoughts on the Marvels being the worst bomb ever for a comic movie, and how do you think this will affect Marvel moving forward? Do you think they should clear a reboot? Okay,
I think you already know the answer on the reboot part. Chappie.
Like I said, I think that
same applies to DC movies bombing too.
Oh yeah, I think they should make their adjustments. I think they should, move away from, like I said, they're going to be able to determine the reasons why that happened. And if you're Marvel, I think the most important thing is not to panic. I mean, I hope a lot of these rumors that we're hearing, are not true. I think the Dr. Doom thing is stupid. There's a time and a place in your story for Dr. Doom. It's not as a replacement. I think they should stay their course, but I think they should make some adjustments and shorten and cut the filler. I don't think they need a hard reboot, but if they were to do a reboot, I think regardless of what the Marvels were doing, I think they were on their way to a selective realignment no matter what. Secret Wars is planned, and that's what Secret Wars is going to be. So if they do a reboot or a realignment, that was already in place. Anyway,
you're talking about doing one that would divert from that would be the problem.
Yeah, if you're just going to do it, if you're just going to do something as a reaction, then you're basically DC, and look where that got DC. So I think make adjustments, recognize you have an issue, but don't do the whole full scale. You have a history of success, so be the history. How you doing, Jarbo? What's going on? $3 Theater?
I think we're
so. When it comes to
says I hate Thanksgiving. Stack up here.
I used to hate all holidays in general because it was just I'm a workaholic and all they were was the days that things were closed and I couldn't get access to shit I need. Post office is closed, store to close. I need to get stuff. I need to go back to store. And I usually work. I'm at my place of business every single holiday. And the reason I do that, and even if I'm not there all day, is to commemorate the fact that I'm still in fucking business because it ain't easy.
I remember actually
not easy.
And I remember this is before I was on the channel regularly, but when the Four Nerds, when they put out Project Justice League, for those of you who haven't seen, that's a motion comic that's presenting Zack Snyder's planned story for Justice League 2 and 3 in motion comic form. It's really awesome. If you haven't seen it, get that look. And they put that out Christmas Day last year, which was so cathartic for so many DC fans.
Christmas Eve. They did that Christmas Eve.
I remember seeing like it's like you were in the office there with the setup there talking about it that night.
Yep, and I streamed that night, and I streamed New Year's Eve. I streamed New Year's Eve was really important. I thought I needed to be on the air. I was just getting that feeling that we had gained a following, however small it was at that point, and I just get that sense that no matter how small that following is, there's somebody out there that needs you to be on the air that night. And I know that may sound weird and cryptic, but New Year's Eve is one of those things where you start to reflect on things, and it may not all be good. And you may need, even if it's my Muppet voice, to break up that monotony, then so be it. So if you remember, we were on the air, and I actually took my phone out and we watched the fireworks here in Vegas because it was a big deal. And if a lot of the AA, a lot of the addiction places that are in our plaza, they made sure that they had places for people to be on New Year's Eve because it's a tough time. Like I said, you're ringing in the new year, but at the same time, you're reflecting on things. And maybe it wasn't, especially when we've just gone through 2-3 years of the whole COVID thing. A lot of people lost people. It's just tough. So I felt it very important to be on the air that night because, like I said, people needed somewhere to be, even if they couldn't be there in person, even if it was just us getting together in a chat. And that's it. That was our place to be that night. So I made sure I was there on New Year's Eve. Christmas.
It's interesting you say that with New Year's Eve with like people reflecting and not necessarily both positive ways and negative ways. New Year's is always weird for me because it's like I'm the kind of person who it's like I despise with a passion the month of January. I am not. I've always likened it to like because you're coming off of Christmas, you're coming off of the holidays, you're going to January. I've always likened it to it's like being on the world's best roller coaster, getting off and going straight to the DMV.
Well, try living in a place where you have winter lasts 5 minutes, spring lasts maybe a week, and then you're like you spend the entire year like the Woody on the Toy Story when you're rolling towards the incinerator. That's the year for us. We know what's coming at the end of all this, and it's 100 degree heat. So yeah,
so I always get that. I always have a little bit of that. I sort of have to, I sort of deal with or work through every. Want to put it, New Year's Eve, where I'm like, it's like even if I know it's like nothing bad is coming, which I mean, nothing inherently bad is ever coming, but it's like, I just don't, I don't like the just going to that, just back to just the. Maybe part of it's also like when you start taking out all the Christmas lights and things, so it's like you're just the loss of color, the loss of the.
Or you're coming down from that high, and there's nothing else like it until that next year. You're coming down from that high, but then for me, you got wrestling fan like me, movies and things start happening when you look at it in the long form like that, and it's just like this desolate desert of nothing going on, and then the things start happening. We start having events. We start having sporting events. Things. The color starts to bleed back into the year as you move on, and then we're in spring, and then if you're living in a place that's not hell, you have a nice moderate summer. You have the movies coming out, the blockbuster seasons, baseball, all kinds of stuff. So yeah, I get what you mean. It is tough, but yeah.
Well, also, I mean, one thing that does help is my birthday is February 5th, so it's like I kind of keep my sights on that too. So I'm going to work on Project Justice League. Oh, I bet that's going to be. Yeah, I can't wait for like the mustache recreation and like all the quippy bullshit that was put in it. Yeah.
I'm not doing it, Justice League. Listen, Justice League is on the air enough. Trust me, at least once a month. I swear, Justice League 2017 is on because it's still making ad bucks. And like I said, it's the doorway into everything that we want them to see. Because you may not get them to sit down for 4 hours, but you get them to sit down for 2. And once they clap on the, most of them are going to have HBO Max. Once they click HBO Max and they look up Justice League, they're going to look up that one. They're going to see the shitty one that you're just watching.
And they're going to see the real movie. By the way, let me know also, because you said you were going to talk to like guys you knew like Walmart or whatever about how like the ZSJL Steelbook was doing. Because I'm really, because again, you made the point that like they're not going to do reissues or repackaging of that nature on something if they're not turning a sizable profit off of it. So I was like, let me know when you hear about that.
Yeah, gotta wait. It'll probably be about a week or so because a lot of them are going to retail hell right now.
Oh yeah. and also, I mean, everybody, if you plan on going shopping on Friday, it's like please be kind to everybody working retail that day, because that is just not that is a really just exhausting day for them.
Yeah, and like I said, you're one of 1,000 people that they're going to see that day. So when you come up to them and you think they're burnt out, and they may be not, you just may think that employee is an asshole. Just remember, like I said, you're number 1,000, and the other 999 people were probably assholes, even if you're not one. So he's primed and ready and got those walls built up.
Yeah, he's like, what's going to be our next live stream Patreon watch along? And
more than likely,
yes, will be Justin's Justice League.
No, we're not doing that. Probably going to be. I might be tomorrow night. I got to figure out. I got to decide what I want to do. Monarch tomorrow night, or Monarch on Sunday. Either way, I think it'll work. But Saturday is going to be pretty much all consumed by.
I saw a clip. It was like a whole clip, but it was like a snippet of a scene from episode 3. And
that nuke.
Yeah, he's finally kind of becoming a little bit more prominent in the shit, because they have held back on him. Probably more than I think a lot of people expect. But like you said, it's like they've still managed to keep it really engaging with like kind of what the story we've been on so far.
They finally got the military advisor to put a star on that general shirt. If you notice that on that clip, he's a 1-star. All right. So first of all, I got a lot of problems with this clip. We know. They may not know that. I get the point. At some point, they know that nuclear things probably created these things. So would he go to figure that a nuclear bomb's not going to work? He's probably going to make him stronger, make him bigger, make him more angry, and make him really fucking hate you. Okay.
Yeah, but they're all there. Right into the sun while we're at it.
They're all there with their little sunglasses on, and Godzilla is considered. And you see, it's a scrawny Godzilla by comparison. He's not even. So basically, what happened is they gave him a power pellet, and next time you see his ass, he's fucking huge. Another thing is, that guy's a 1-star general. If you are going to even be in the vicinity of a nuclear weapon, whether you are safeguarding it, watching it, you're part of the program, you're minimum major general. Because a 1-star is going to be like, just above a group commander or a deputy, a deputy RRC, deputy division commander. 2-star is going to, that's generally somebody that they give something, because it takes thousands of people to safeguard and handle those things, and even be involved in the deployment of those things. If you watch Oppenheimer, Leslie Graves, remember how they said in Oppenheimer that they're bumping him up. They're giving him another star so he can handle this. That's so that he can have command of all the resources. A 1-star generally, he's gonna be there. But if you look at Oppenheimer, there was a bunch of 2-stars answering to Matt Damon's character. It's usually a lieutenant general. That's how big nuclear anything is. You look at Los Alamos. You go to Los Alamos, the base. I'm pretty sure that's still a 3-star command. And this is by the time this show takes place, we've already had the Manhattan project. So we know that that's at least a 3-star command. So it's just like the military. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Los Alamos commander Daniel Roberts. Okay, let's see. I'm looking at the.
I'll pull up a few more comments while you're at it. Welcome January Hollis. Hey, listen, if that's your cup of tea, man, go for it. It's just that I the other thing too is like I am such a aficionado of the holiday season, so it's always like I'm the kind of person who you tell me Christmas comes once a year. It's like that does that hits my buttons.
Yeah, so it's usually a Corps of Engineer commander. And that guy is usually, like I said, I'm looking at 2-stars here, 2-star, 3 stars. So yeah, you get a little 1-star guy making a decision to to have Godzilla eat that bomb. That's just going to piss him off. But yeah, there you go. What's the next one we got here?
Yeah, let's see. Where is it? Okay, here we go. I know a lot of people born in October, so January is a very hot month. I don't even know what you're trying to say there, Clint. I can handle nuclear material. Hey, awesome. Good to hear, man.
He basically absorbed that full blast. And as we now know, especially that version, that MonsterVerse version of Godzilla, he can take nuclear energy to the point where, I mean, that's not going to hurt him at all. I mean, the only reason he just spelled that into the sky that one time was that he had too much. He was going to kill everybody around him, and he was going to explode. But that was like after years of absorption of it. But I thought that scene was stupid. But it's the 50s, and I saw you see in the scene where the one lady is trying to stop him, and then Wyatt Russell's character is like she's he can't. There's nothing we can do about it. But like I said, I'm pretty sure that they're regretting that decision because.
Speaking of that, I was on the phone with a friend a few hours ago. He's not going to be back in town for Thanksgiving, but he will be for Christmas. But we were talking about we were talking about Godzilla stuff, and he had mentioned to him, we'll also the channel I do streaming on the Sci-Fi Center. We're doing right now the watch parties for the Monarch series, so drop in on that if you want to check that out. And he said, okay, check that out. But also, he had seen the trailer for Godzilla -1 yet. So I was on the phone with him as he was watching it for the first time, and he is just as ready for this as we are now.
Yeah, that's a sinister looking Godzilla. I can't. That week isn't that next week? That's next week.
They're like, now it was officially next Friday, but they got like the early fan event for Wednesday. So that's like, I'm going to that. It's like I'm getting this as soon as I possibly can.
Hold on. Hold on. Am I free on Wednesday? Oh, I got mail. I want to see if I want to go to that. Let's see.
We were actually talking about like other kaiju as far as the MonsterVerse, like what other because I mean Godzilla -1, it's like he's again he's not fighting any other monsters. He's just showing up to just trash the city. We were talking about other kaiju they could bring into the MonsterVerse, and he suggested we both kind of agreed like sooner or later they need to get Destroya, but he suggested like saving that almost for like your end game event. Maybe like we kind of agree, maybe like have like Godzilla like make it like sacrifice himself to defeat him. That'd be kind of a good finale for that because because the nature of the Destroya as a kaiju that make him that make for like really quite a great finale for the MonsterVerse Godzilla.
That's on the 29th.
Yeah, 29th, which is next Wednesday.
I'm going. I'm going to be there.
I'm sure going, yeah. Well, my AMC it's on Fandango, but my AMC isn't showing that yet for some reason. So that's really, but as soon as they pull that up, it's like I'm getting that. I'm getting that immediately because I am not waiting. I want to see. I don't think I've seen a Godzilla movie theatrically, other than the MonsterVerse ones. I released since '98.
I saw the Raymond Burr one, the Americanized one here. I saw that one in 1985.
Yeah, I wasn't. I
wasn't 1998. 1998 was.
98.
I understand that Godzilla can handle radiation, but that's a different form of punch from a sonic blast. He should die, or why would punches and impact from other monsters hurt him? This particular Godzilla, I mean, I don't think a nuclear bomb, the blast would necessarily hurt him. When you see this particular Godzilla punched, this one, I'm talking about the MonsterVerse, and this is the one we're talking about. When has he bled? Has his armor ever been pierced?
Yeah.
Even when he was fighting Mechagodzilla, I haven't seen this particular Godzilla's to the point where he's been hurt. He's been bothered by things like that. And what probably happened is it probably blew him away. It probably blew him a great distance, probably down into the water. Or it probably blew him, because obviously I don't think he's there. I think once when they blow up, when they set that bomb, it doesn't look like he's there. So it probably blew him, the impact probably blew him down into the depths, down into.
you kind of quantify the damage differently with like radiation for a creature that is that thrives on radiation versus like blunt force trauma from a a being of equal size and comparable strength.
Yeah, I mean, if he's at point blank, but even then, is the blast going to hurt him, and can he even be killed? Because remember, in the original Godzilla, it seemed like he collapsed and died, and didn't he just got up and walked into the water? He may be to the point where he can't die. He might be like the Hulk, where as long as he's the Hulk, you can't kill him. So who knows, man? Australia Day.
Aaron, once Christmas is finished here, the month of January is the month where we celebrate Australia Day, which is our July 4th. Well, I mean, you got
kangaroos everywhere. Kangaroos. Everybody gives up their car. Everybody doesn't take an Uber. Everybody rides a kangaroo that day, right?
I thought we settled this already, though, Aaron. It's like when the aliens came in '96, we kicked their asses and we said July 4th, that's Independence Day for all mankind. This is already settled.
Hey,
we got too many Independence Days.
Does everyone wear khakis that day? And like, no, I'm just kidding. I'm
all
horrible.
patriotic colors for us. Aussies that month. Yeah. Yeah, Droga also Australia Day, Aaron. Okay, okay, Brad, what is T-9? It's 1, aka January. I hope you know where I get that. I don't know what the hell you're saying here, Clint.
No, it's Clint.
Maybe you are on edibles right now.
It was 1998, Clint. Trust me, I remember that year.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, that was. I still, I kind of have a soft spot for. I mean, I realize it's heretical as far as a Godzilla movie, but I mean, it's just as a Roland Emmerich disaster movie with a big lizard stomping on shit. Yeah.
Oh, it was Roman Emmerich, so it's one of his.
See what Droga is here. 2020 Australia was one of the hottest days ever. Well, also, I mean, down there,
that's their summer.
Yeah, you guys are in your summer months right now, so that is so bizarre to me. The idea of like November, December, January being it's like I got to visit that part of the world at some point, like see what that's all about. Like having summer going on when where I'm from, you associate that with snow.
You watch the Australian Open, and they're that's in January, and they're sweating their balls off. Down the people are passing out, but it's that's when they hold. Yeah, that's the first tennis Grand Slam of the year. So. So
Chappie has Monarch TV show has been great so far. Yeah, I haven't seen the third episode yet, but yeah, it's like they got off to a pretty good start.
Yeah, and just need to hire some military advisors, or find out what kind of have a guy wearing a rink this time. Like I said, they clearly realized that they fucked up that first one, because I wasn't the only one that didn't see that one star on his collar.
This is actually one I remember when I was a kid seeing Godzilla '98. This is actually something my whole family called out on as far as like a military inaccuracy. It's the part when Broderick and kind of the French Secret Service guys they're sneaking into the city to kind of find the Godzilla nest, and they get to the military checkpoint, and the guys the guy there with the flashlight saying, hey, what's your unit, all that stuff, and Broderick keeps saying like we're with such and such. He calls him sir repeatedly, and they point out military. It's like you don't refer to the military checkpoint guy, or the guy at the gate on the base, whatever. That's not you don't have to give him sir. So that's a tip off to those who are not authentic soldiers. They should have alerted him to that.
Yeah, and plus those guys that he was talking to were enlisted anyway. So. Then that's the difference. A lot of people don't know. A lot of general people, a lot of just average people do not know the difference between an enlisted and an officer, and the ranks and all that. Like I said, hold on. All right, I'm gonna pull. I want to see if I can find this.
I'll pull up a couple of questions here while you're at it. Clint says, "Okay, when people entertain themselves in January, 9 months later, people having birthdays October." I think you are on edibles right now, Clint, because I can't make heads or tails of what you're typing.
Yeah, see.
It's tennis, cricket, and horse racing season at the moment here. Okay.
Okay, yeah, they have it here. They have it here, but they don't have a good picture.
It's fun as hell.
All right, so I'm going to bring this up. Save images. This is hilarious. All right, so brand, add overlay. Yeah, this is
What
this.
would you
When I saw, go ahead.
Well, maybe I don't know. Maybe this is a weird. Since we're on this pondering this topic, what would you say is the movie or the show where you have spotted the most military inaccuracies in it?
SG1.
SG1. Okay.
Yeah, and it was in one episode was enough for the whole year for the rest of my life. All right, and this drove me absolutely fun because my dad was Air Force, so I see these uniforms, every day. I mean, I grew up on an Air Force base where I saw these uniforms. All right, you see that there?
Yep.
All right, the guy's a major, and they pointed it out clearly here. I saw this years, I watched this. It's called Children of the Gods. This was the first episode of Stargate SG-1, which was the first episode of the series after the movie. And in the movie, they did it fine. The movie, they did everything fine. This is a major. This is Major Kowalski. It's all fucked up here. All right, it's so much fucked up here that I can't. So right now he has the rank of what at that point in time was a tech sergeant, which was an E6. All right, and on his shoulder he has the major. So what is it, sergeant major, which is not that kind of rank. He does not have his name tag.
That's an Army rank.
Yeah, and even where he's at, and he's at NORAD, which is where Stargate SG-1 was in, and that's where Colonel what's his face is there. He's a full bird, but he's not in uniform, but he's fine. You still wear your name badge, and there's no name badge here. He's got dress blues on with a tech sergeant's armbands on, and clearly he has majors on. It's like the Air Force does not have the rank of sergeant major, and if they did, this would still be wrong. Somebody in the costume bar is very confused. They spent decent. This was not low budget. That was not low budget. Paramount, Viacom, Showtime. This is on Showtime. This is decent money that they spent in the mid-90s. It was they believed in this project that they eventually made it into a series, that was on the Sci-Fi Channel. And yeah, and I'm like, I saw this for the first time. I'm like, what in the fuck? And then I would see it on low budget movies. I would see low budget movies where the guys would be in the desert and they would be in the desert and wearing desert camouflage with the shiny rank, which you do not do. The whole point of not having subdued rank, if you have your rank at all, is so that it doesn't shine and the sniper can't see.
And they'll signal a guy, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, you didn't have all that stuff. The stars on when I see an admiral and I see the stars on the admiral on the collar, they always go diagonal. They do not go lined up like that. I would see that and it would drive me crazy. Unless it was a military base, which Stargate technically was, but I guess they didn't give a fuck. But like JAG, when you would watch JAG, they would get it right. When you would watch NCIS, they would get it right. When you would watch a show that actually hired military advisors, and it doesn't have to be some kind of general a private, a PB1 could have corrected that mistake. A dude that had not graduated basic training, still in basic training, would have fixed that. That's one of the first things we learn is rank recognition. And like I said, I was Army, but I grew up. I had family members that were all over the place. I can tell you every rank. And my dad was a tech. He had one of those uniforms in there, and I knew what a major was. And I'm like, what in the hell? So yeah, that was hilarious.
Here's a good story too. I could share from that my dad told me. It was actually when the last Rambo came out. But we were talking about the Rambo movies because I'd seen Rambo: Last Blood. We were talking about the it's in the fourth one, the 2008 Rambo 4. We were talking about the part when when he gets behind that 50 cal and it just liquefies like the entire Burmese military. And my dad told me, oh yeah, that doesn't work. Yeah, he said that. It doesn't have that kind of control where you just push a button and it just fires until you run through all your ammo. And he told me about their, this one training exercise they did where they went out to the firing range and they had, this was like very secluded because you need it to be to not fire rounds off at people or anything. And they trained with 50 cals and they were at one end of the field and they had the targets. They had like these big like kind of wooden sort of rectangles or whatever. They were on like 3 football fields away from them or even further, and said, okay, they got behind the 50 cals and they just blasted off like all day. And he told me like the recoil on a 50 cal. I mean, everybody knows like you see the recoil on a handgun, it's one thing, and a shotgun it's another, and then the 50 cal. I mean, it's like, I mean, you can't maintain like your line of sight. I mean, it just recoils so violently, and he told me it's like when they finished, when the training exercise was done for the day, they went down to all those targets. He said they fired off like thousands and thousands of rounds, and he said they hit those targets maybe like 11 times.
Yeah. Now, keep in mind that when Rambo gets on there, he doesn't have to do much maneuvering. He only has to go left and right, because remember, he had the high ground. They were dead. As soon as Rambo got behind there, they were dead, and there was nowhere there were to go. So he really didn't have to do. I fired that type of weapon, and how it was mounted. Now, also, your dad's right for the most part. Your dad is right. If it was just, it was mounted. Remember, he had it mounted on that. I think it was mounted on a. It was either on a
the back
burn,
of a
Yeah. So it was stabilized. So all he had to do is swivel on the gyro. So he should have been okay. But he didn't even have to aim. All he had to do is spray. But he did have. He would have been. Yeah. But he would have been. He Rambo, and like I said, Rambo picks up an M60 with his hand and shoots it at the waist.
Just one hand, it just looking super ripped, just holding the chain of bullets.
But as far as like in that particular scene, he would have been shaking his head and everything would have been shaking. But as far as his accuracy and being able to hit those, he didn't really have to do much. They were fucked. Those guys were trapped on that hill. And remember, they were coming down from that hill trying to engage him. And every time he shot at him, because they couldn't hit him. When you're down and your enemy is shooting down at you, it's really hard to shoot up at the position while you're getting shot, especially with that kind of firepower, because you don't have anything to hide. There's nothing they could hide behind at that range. They were hiding behind cars, and remember, Rambo was just cutting through the cars. I'm like, you need to get off that battlefield.
But one thing he did say also, and I've heard apparently, like military guys have corroborated this. It wasn't. He said, there's the recoil. I mean, you're downplaying that as cinematically, but he says like as far as like what that weapon does, like when one of those rounds from a 50 cal hits somebody and it just tears them in half. They said, if anything, it's like they downplayed like how much damage that can do to somebody.
They need the scene we're talking about is not. There's not a lot of downplaying there. Bodies are exploding. When he hit just two guys standing back to back, and that one round just made both of their heads explode.
Yeah,
everything's the top half of your body is
they just liquefied.
And when I remember watching that scene over and over again because I thought it was glorious. Finally, somebody with that caliber of a weapon is showing what it does when it did. I mean, he was blowing people apart with it. He was hitting people in the chest, and their bodies were just blowing in the different sections. That's what happens. That is a very powerful weapon, and that round, that velocity and the size of that round should dismember you. So when you're shooting at that, they could have been much more graphic, because when you're hit by that kind of round, they have to bring in experts to identify what you were. That's how much that damage that round can do. And like I said, he had it on an elevated position, and those guys did not have a clear line of sight, and he had a clear line. They were all dead, and you could see that they knew it. They didn't have time to get away. There was nowhere for them to run because they were in a hill. They were in like a canyon, whatever that was, and all they could do is stand there and listen to themselves die. And it was like I remember seeing that for the very first time, and I didn't see it in the movies. I saw it on cable somewhere, and all I did was rewind that scene. I'm like, wow.
They turned the first guy. It's like if you haven't seen Rambo 2008, it's like again the climax, the finale is Rambo just going to town on the Burmese the Burmese military bad guys with this 50 cal, and there's just nothing left of any of them by the time it is just the most just glorious bloodbath you've ever seen in a Rambo movie.
Yeah, I mean, just don't watch it. It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
Can you give a breakdown of how basic platoon? I'm pretty sure you met platoon rank breaks down. Who's in charge? Next in charge? Who sends them out on the mission? Okay, a platoon is ran by two people. You have an officer and you have a senior NCO. Usually a platoon is led by either a second lieutenant, which is the basic entry rank of officers, or a first lieutenant. Those are the two ranks that run a platoon. The primary NCO leader is an E7, which is called a sergeant first class. He's an E7. He's the platoon sergeant. A platoon usually makes up of about maybe 16 to 20 people. And from that point, from a platoon, you have one platoon leader who's the officer. He's in overall charge of the platoon. But then you have the platoon sergeant. The platoon sergeant has E6s, usually E6s or E5s. And those are your squad leaders. So when you look at a formation, imagine the guy standing in front of all the NCOs and all the enlisted. That's the platoon sergeant. And the people he's facing, each of each column, there's a squad leader. Each squad is a line, one behind the other. And each one of those guys has an E5 or an E6 that is a squad leader. At that point, you break them down into individuals within the squad, like E2, fire squad leaders, things like that, and you break down the tasks. Now, who sends them on the mission is usually the company commander. Each company is made up of 4 platoons, usually 4 platoons, and that is led by an O3, which is a captain, which is the 2 bars. The captain has he has 2 people under him. He has an XO that his officer assistant, but then he has his primary military commander, which is the first sergeant. The first sergeant, or the top as we call him, he's the guy who pretty much runs the show for the most part, because the majority of your unit, any military breakdown, even though Star Trek are all officers for the most part, but most military situations you will ever find yourself in, the majority, 75% of your total makeup is enlisted. So the enlisted run the show. So it goes down. So your captain is the company commander. He has an XO, which is usually a first lieutenant. And then he has the first sergeant who's in charge of all the enlisted, all the platoons, and beyond. Below that, you have your platoon sergeants, and below that, you have your squad leaders. The company commander usually is the one who sends the platoons and the platoon leaders out on the mission. He will give the mission, whatever mission, to the platoon leader. That platoon leader will consult with the first sergeant, the platoon sergeant, and then goes down from there. So I hope I helped you with that.
Yeah. And to give a little context to my dad, he retired as a master sergeant, which I believe, if I remember correctly, that made him an E8.
That is an E8, yes. He can actually be. He could have probably at some time had the diamond and a bit of first sergeant too. So, yeah. But first sergeant is a role; it's not a rank. So E8 is.
He was a first sergeant, before he was.
So he was an E8, which is pretty good. That's a good rank to.
He was enlisted for about 23 years.
Yeah, so that's a good rank. Use Kong Island as a skull. So if I use Kong Island, I use Samuel Jackson's area, I think he was a colonel. He was either colonel or lieutenant colonel. And then all those people under him, that captain that was under him. But see, they were on a special ops mission. Those guys were special ops mission. Now, there's a difference between a regular platoon makeup, and sometimes you have like special assignments to where you have an officer that has a much smaller crew of 5 or 6 or 10 people, and he was a lieutenant colonel. So if I'm correct, Samuel Jackson's character was a lieutenant colonel. Hold on, let me look up Kong's alignment, because a lieutenant colonel is going to be generally a battalion commander. Battalion commander. Now, and that would be let's make sure we are him. Tom Hiddleston, Samuel Jackson. He's a lieutenant colonel. And then he had captains, and he had people under him. He had some listed, and all the pilots were warrant officers. Those were your pilots. So when you're a lieutenant commander and you have a battalion, you have all kinds of assets. You have tanks, everything he had. And so he was in charge of the military mission. He was the highest ranking person there. And then everybody below him, all the helicopter pilots that didn't die were all part of his unit. But he was the top dog there. But generally, if you look at the rank he's at, he's in the Army. A lieutenant commander is a battalion. A battalion is made up, that I just described the company element to you. A battalion is made up of 4 or more companies. So now you have a battalion commander, which would be a lieutenant commander. He would have an XO who would be a major. And then his senior enlisted person would be sergeant major, a real sergeant major, not the one you saw in that goofy shit picture, an actual sergeant major who is an E9. And below that, when you're at the battalion level, you have a bunch of captains that work under you in what are called S sections. So S2 was physical security. S3 was operations. S4 was supply. S1 was admin. And all those people work under you to support, and then they all run those companies under them. So when I was in active duty for a while, I was at the battalion level. I was a battalion training NCO, while the rest of the unit was on us. So I contacted other NCOs that were in the company. So hopefully that explains it. I wasn't expecting that question, but I'm always ready for it. What's my thoughts on the Space Force? It's stupid. It is waste of money. We have a Space Force. It's called the Air Force. And there was no reason to create a branch for something that we already have. We have a Space Force and we have NASA that works concurrently with each other. Creating another bureaucracy, I think, was stupid. I think it's dumb. I think eventually what you will do if you ever were to progress into outer space, you're taking everybody with you anyway that's currently in the force. So you're not just going to send the Space Force out there. You're going to send the Marines. You're going to send the Army, because you're going to establish bases all over your whatever you're colony. If you're going to colonize a place and you're going to want an armed force there to protect a colony, then you're going to have the Marines, because whatever Space Force you do, the Marines and the Army are suited for this. And that's the difference between forces. I mean, Space Force, you're basically creating a Space Force to defend. Air Force has been doing that for decades, since they brought Nazis over to, Warner, Herzog and all those guys to, not Herzog, but what's his face? His name, I know his name, but he was the Nazi propulsion guy. He comes over to ours, and we basically create NASA, and NASA was formed after the Air Force, which was 1947. You don't need a Space Force. And if you're going to talk about defense, the Army has ballistic missiles, the Air Force has ballistic missiles, the Navy has ballistic missiles. We have geospace. We have all these agencies. I mean, I don't know why we needed a Space Force. It's stupid. You look at the uniforms, it's just Air Force uniforms with lightning bolts on them and Space Force on them. And they're not spending any of their time in space. When we get to the level that, in my opinion, that we will actually be into space to need a Space Force, we're going to have upped all of our armed forces, because you won't be able to, it would be redundant to build an extra defense force when all you'd have to do is fit the ones you currently have, what you have, So I thought the Space Force is stupid, but that's just me. Next.
Yeah. Was he as buff as still? Are you talking about my dad?
Stallone is like 5'6", by the way, and his buff is.
Well, I mean, actually one thing my dad used to say that's a popular thing in the Army is that Rambos don't make it in the military. So, and he's talking about like the kind of one-man army mindset, and
Rambo was based on an actual person, not to that exaggerated.
Yeah, Audie Murphy was the guy's name. Yeah.
No.
Really? Was it?
After that, yeah, Filipino guy. He actually has. I think he has a Medal of Honor winner too. Audie Murphy was too, but for the most part, yeah, it was based on a guy later on that was actually in Vietnam. He was a special forces guy, which Rambo is. Rambo is like I said, Rambo is pretty deadly, but a Green Beret in the Army in his era that he would have been in. Those were some of the deadliest people on this planet, because remember, they and the Navy SEALs that were originating at that time were trained in guerrilla warfare. They weren't standard issue. They were trained to be as vicious as the people of the Viet Cong that they were facing. So when you see Rambo's tactics and the way he cuts people's throats and does all that, that's because that's the guerrilla warfare that spawned that generation of special forces. So it's exaggerated, and Rambo is, there's a lot of things about Rambo that are complete and utter bullshit, but there's the mentality that he was, the snapping right in the instinct. When Rambo does things, it's out of instinct, because he's done it so many times and he's been trained so hard to do it that a twig snaps, he's going to snap your neck. That was accurate from what guys I hear. So
yeah, Rambo 50 cal season. Yeah, which again, it's like if you haven't seen that, it's like.
Yeah,
I just love you. I loved You're My Dad.
Warner Braun. Thank you, Warner Braun. Thank you.
I love You're My Dad. Like, tell me that story about just again the reality of a 50 cal and just what just an act of God that weapon is when if you're firing it off at somebody in a platoon of soldiers and they're just unlucky enough to not be able to get out of the way.
Yeah, there's nothing other than armor that's gonna get you out. Like if you were in a Bradley or something like that, then you have a chance. But because it takes uranium tip to get through that. But if you want to look, you want to get a good accurate. There's a Miami Vice, the remake that they did with Colin Farrell and Jamie Foxx in 2006. Is an opening scene where two guys get shot up, a couple of rounds into their vehicle, and their arms and stuff get blown off. That's an M82 Barrett 50 cal, and I fired one of those. And that will fuck you up. That will end you. There's no part on your body where that hits you where you will live. It destroys so much of your body that there's not enough left to function with. That's what those weapons do. That's why it's actually against the rules to aim that weapon at people. I think it's actually part of the Geneva Convention where you can only aim. Those weapons were designed to take out vehicles. The 50 cal. And it's supposed to be aimed at machines. So that's your technical gray area. So if there's somebody in the machine, you aim for the engine block, it's going to pierce the engine block. It's going to kill them. From what I understood when we were firing these things and when they would explain us the rules, the only time you can use those weapons and direct them at a human if there's imminent danger to a U.S. GI or their ally, and there's nothing else you can use, and you have nothing else at your disposal, then. But for the most part, the Coast Guard use those to take out the engines of boats, the jug runners, and we use them. The snipers use them when they're scouting to take out vehicles, because once you stop a vehicle, you stop the convoy. But you're generally not supposed to be using that shit on an actual person. That's why when you see actual trained snipers, American Sniper and all that stuff, they're using a much smaller, much more accurate round, a less heavy round, because they're not there to pierce. You're not, they can pierce whatever they need to with that, but you're generally, 50 cal, you're not supposed to be using that shit on that. You're not supposed to target a human that's not in armor without him.
Yeah, William Brad still pissed me off that Leonard Velasquez was panned by critics for being racist, Trumpian, Mexican nightmare, just stupid. Yeah, I liked it. Well, it kind of got caught up in the whole fervor around the election, and we'll keep politics out of the show, but I mean, yeah, the rhetoric around certain political candidates and political parties, it got kind of enveloped on all that, which really sucks, because you're talking about like these people are just you're making a Rambo movie, you're producing, you're working within the film industry, you're kind of getting tacked on or associated with something unintentionally, and that just kind of drags down what you're trying to do with it, and that's very unfortunate.
Yep, that was very controversial because Werner von Braun was a Nazi, and a lot of Nazis that and the Russians did it too. If you could be of value to what we were doing as far as the space program, which by extension was the nuclear weapons program, that's why NASA got a lot of their funding. That's why NASA was well funded throughout the area, because everything that they used could be used along with nuclear weapons. So it was a joint funding thing. So that's how they got a lot of their money. So yeah, Paperclip, Operation Paperclip. Yeah, I don't know why I couldn't remember his name. Maybe because do we still use flame orders in war? Absolutely not. We stopped doing a lot of things that we did in World War II. In World War II, and especially in the Pacific Island, they would use and in fact, I don't believe we do. I think we stopped using those because it was the Army and the Marines in general got rid of what we called indiscriminate weapons, because after Curtis LeMay pretty much turned Japan into a cinder, and Dresden as well, we looked back and decided we didn't want to do that anymore. And then from that point on, we've developed over the past 60 to 70 years, everything we have for the most part, even though there obviously is collateral damage, no matter what kind of bomb you're using, we have more precision bombs. We have more small bombs. We have more low yield bombs. We don't carpet bomb anything anymore. We ended that in the Vietnam era because it's not efficient. You could drop a whole bunch of ordnance and all you're going to do is kill a bunch of people, and you'll never reach your target, and you'll never know if you were able to reach your target. That's why we use drones. We use Griffins. We use Hellfire.
Do we still use napalm?
We don't use napalm anymore. Napalm is done. I don't think we use. Once again, in my era, I never heard of it. And I was an ammo specialist, so we never use those. We use white phosphorus, but that's harmless. It burns, but it doesn't disfigure. Napalm is dangerous. It's basically liquid fire, and you can't control napalm once you dropped it. Once you drop napalm, you're generally trying to drop on a specific area where you can't determine where the fire is coming from, but you know it's coming from a general area. We don't do that as much anymore unless we have to. But most of our stuff, we have precision guided things. We have laser guided things. We can take out armor with toes and things like that. We can take out, we can guide. Now we can literally, a 18-year-old kid can guide a missile right into the eye socket of an enemy if they want to. So a lot of the things that we used in World War II, but remember, World War II, the technology was what we had. We didn't have precision guided weapons. We didn't have guided missiles. We didn't have, we didn't have the kind of technology, and we were fighting, the Empire of Japan, which was not going to give up. Remember, Japan military didn't want to give up after the second bomb was dropped. It was the emperor. It was the emperor who made the decision to surrender. The Japan military and the Japanese people were committed to fighting to the last Japanese person. They even said that. It was hearing Hirohito's voice on the radio, and he was a god. You never heard him. And when he said, "Put down your arms," because he doesn't want to see Japan destroyed, that's when they did it.
The reason they had that has a lot to do with kind of the kind of the code of Bushido and samurai. It's so instilled, in the culture there. I mean,
even the pilots.
Yeah,
the pilots had exactly. Samurai swords in they flew with samurai swords.
Yeah, because they were prepared to do harakiri if they got caught.
When they failed the emperor, a lot of those Japanese admirals and a lot of those guys, they committed suicide. They committed ritual suicide if they failed the emperor, which would they considered him an extension of God. If they failed him, they didn't deserve to live. And a lot of those guys would rather kill themselves before they surrendered. And they were. I hope we never face an enemy that committed again, because you drop two things, the power of the sun, and they're like, all right, we're still here. Bonsai. That's dangerous, because, and remember, the only reason we dropped those two bombs is because MacArthur wanted to invade, and the death toll, American death toll, would have been worse than Normandy. Because you're getting an island nation, they're dug in. They don't want to be captured. It's different. They would have been an invasion of Tokyo, the Japanese mainland would have made D-Day look like a park, man, because they were so entrenched. Iwo Jima, as bad as Iwo Jima, could you imagine 10 Iwo Jimas? It would have been it was insane. Tarawa, it would have been insane, man. We generally don't use those type of weapons anymore. So because of that, and a lot of the times, when we're fighting a war, we're not just fighting the enemy. We're fighting for the hearts and minds of the people around us. In Afghanistan and especially in Iraq, you wanted to limit the civilian casualties. And even then, we killed a lot of civilians during that war, but not as many as if we would have not had the precision-guided things that we did. There were things that you can do to limit civilian casualties when you can. Like if you have your target, and he's surrounded by, he's using human shields, you're not supposed to. Our rules of engagement are, there's a lot of different things you have to be able to do before you do that. And then you're only supposed to do that as a last resort if that target represents a strategic immediate threat. If you can wait them out, you try. But yeah, because what ends up happening is the general populace turns on us, and we're surrounded by Iraqis, we're surrounded by Afghans, and you have to be careful. So, all right, guys, I think that's it. We got 2 hours.
It was interesting topics you guys came at us with about celebrities getting in trouble and about weapons of war. Wonder what the next open mic is going to bring.
Yeah, I mean, I know one time it was an hour and a half of us serial killers. So, yeah. So, all right, guys. Well, at some point I will be streaming tomorrow. I don't know when. If I decide to do King of the Monsters, holy shit. If I decide to do Monarch tomorrow, once it's released, what about 9? It'll probably be around 10 or so. If I do it tomorrow, it will because I don't want to necessarily have you guys waiting till Sunday. So keep an eye, you Patreons, keep an eye on your message box. because you'll get the links. Everybody else, just keep an eye on the community page, and I'll try to update you as much as possible. But I am going to try to relax tomorrow. I'm going to try to blend in some work and some food and some football. That's pretty much what I want to try to do tomorrow. So, but either way, I will probably be eating and enjoying Thanksgiving before we see each other again. So, from me to you, from Dad to you guys, happy Thanksgiving. And like I said, just brace yourself for a very weird and unorthodox weekend in regards to our streaming schedule. But like I said, it's we'll try to stabilize things in the weeks to come. But like I said, this is small business. This is important. This is an important time for us small businesses. So bear with me. All right. So lastly, but least, once again, we were talking about it earlier. We were talking about the effects of New Year's, the feeling that I had on certain nights that I really needed to be streaming, even if it was 5 or 6 people. Sometimes I knew that those 5 or 6 people really needed that 7th person. They needed to hear a voice that wasn't the voice in their head telling them to do crazy stuff, to tell them to harm themselves. So sometimes, just that simple break in the monotony and the whole thing can add a lifetime onto people. So 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, 24/7 call, text, chat. They are available during the holidays. They know what the holidays mean. So they are there if you need them. Hopefully you don't. If you don't need them, spread the word. Make sure that everybody who does need them has it. All right, that's it. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. And we'll see you sometime today, tomorrow.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. See you guys.